Let's call this meeting to order. And Angie, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Bailey,
Here.
Commissioner Bunting,
Present.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here. Very good. Mr. Lemmerman, could you give us a prayer tonight?
Heavenly Father, we ask your guidance on the Board of Commissioners tonight as we look over the affairs and the financial interests of Gratiot County and try to affect the future as to the best way that we can. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, born and unborn. Okay. We have one change in the agenda. We want to move L1 up to just after approval of this agenda and before the public comment. Or I suppose we could do it after the public comment. Which way were we thinking?
Finance Committee.
Okay. All righty. So everybody's okay with that? What's your preference? Just before the finance or like after the brief public comment?
I'm confused on what you want to do.
We're gonna move L1 either
Township Blight, yeah.
yeah, on the blight, just after the public comment. Or do we want to go through the, we could go through the consent agenda and all that, then
Is it all right if you do it in your administrator's report?
but we're gonna, and we're gonna eliminate the administrator's report tonight.
Okay.
I think the idea was L1 and isn't the Finance Committee letter I, so it would be.
Okay, so after we're approving the consent calendar, so we'll put it there. Without objection, I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Bunting, a second.
Or
Support by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye? Aye, opposed, nay. Motion passed. Brief public comment. Anyone in the room or anyone online, go ahead and unmute yourself. If you're on a cell phone, I believe it's *6. Matt, you seen anybody that might be trying?
Nope, I'm not seeing anybody unmute right now.
Okay, last call. All righty. Anyone, let's move on to the consent agenda. Anybody want to move anything out of the consent agenda?
over the consent agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Bailey to move the consent agenda. A second, support by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye? Aye, opposed, nay. Motion passed. So now we are moving up the Blight report. I guess.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for accommodating, doing this a little bit ahead of things. We have Mr. Bill Leonard tonight, who is here for any questions I might not be able to answer about the Blight program. So Mr. Leonard participates on the St. Louis City Council, and he has a meeting, needs to be there by 5:30. So very much appreciate that. So appreciate the mask over my nameplate there. Symptomatic, I hope, of the efforts that we are making here to have people mask and keep one another safe. So whoever's responsible for that, I thank you. We'll keep impressing that message upon people. But regarding blight, We are nearing the end of year one, the first year of our blight eradication program here in Gratiot County. I'd like to give you an overview of the program, how I have asked to have time on the agenda of the Township Assembly, the next one, this week or next, also to review this information and to solicit interest in participation in year two, if indeed that's the will of the board. And I'll submit that question to you here in a few minutes. So by way of reminder, just a quick program overview for you. One township in particular was kind of a driving force behind this and was in communication with Commissioner Bailey about these blighted properties here in our township, and we just don't have the resources and the wherewithal to be able to address this. And indeed, townships often have some unique issues that cause them to be hesitant to jump into some of these cases. For example, township folks are neighbors. You folks are neighbors. And it can be everybody knows everyone. And it can be very, very difficult for one neighbor to push this kind of issue with another neighbor. And folks out there can be very, very hesitant to undertake this kind of confrontation. Second, many of our townships are very small, not a lot of people. It can be very difficult for townships to employ people just to do this kind of work. So they're just not resource rich. And finally, if a township undertake its own enforcement efforts, if you have a property owner that is non-compliant, the lawyers have to become involved for enforcement efforts. And we have prosecutors right upstairs that can and have been working these cases for us as necessary. So that's a huge savings to the townships. And I know they've been appreciating that very much. Note that by statute, counties do not have the authority to implement or enforce blight ordinances. That is authority conferred upon townships, villages, cities, but not counties. So after the communication by one of the township folks with Commissioner Bailey, this really led to communications with other townships, officials in other townships to determine the breadth of interest in this kind of having a partnership and doing that. In those communications, some said they didn't need our help because they have an ordinance and they had staff to enforce that. Another indicated that there were some expenses related to elections coming up in that fiscal year and just didn't see the room in the budget. Therefore, for this kind of program, and just didn't see a way to wiggle that in. So those are some of the reasons why. And I have no doubt that some folks were just kind of hanging back and just, I want to see how this is going to work. So in the end, 4 townships jumped in to participate in that first pilot year, those being Elba, Wheeler, Fulton, and North Star. You see them listed there, not in that order. The mechanics of this are that each township entered into an intergovernmental agreement with this board, and whereby the county would enforce the township's blight ordinances. And the advantages to them and of this structure is that you can hire and utilize one enforcement officer. So there are some efficiencies rather than having potentially 16 enforcement officers. But furthermore, our enforcement officer wasn't going to be everyone's neighbor. He lives in one place with just a handful of neighbors. He wasn't going to be the neighbor of everyone in every township. So, and also that just alleviated some of the concerns that the townships had about undertaking neighbors. Each township paid a fee of $2,000 for the year, for which we built the program for them. We created the forms, which is part of building the program. We provided the administrative enforcement staff, enforcement officer and Deandra Huggins, Mel Messer, doing administrative and program. We also have provided the vehicle and supplies used by the staff in doing this work on the two cases. We did also this year utilize the county prosecutor's office for legal intervention when this has been required, and we'll show you those cases in a moment. This has proven to be very cost effective for the townships, and very pleased to, so it's two cases, by the way, for $2,000 in a single year. Again, in year two, if we go there, we're going to take a look at all of this. Was this the right way to go? Did this work for the townships? What do we improve? So there'll be a debrief of that and see what we might need to change. Matt, if you'd like to begin the process of bringing up the photos while I finish up my comments. So and I had provided you many materials in your meeting packets. The eradication enforcement case involves specific functions in a particular order. The township supervisor receives a citizen complaint, the township supervisor decides if he or she wants that case to count against their allotment of 2 cases for the year. So they do a little bit of screening. If indeed he or she wants us to take a look at the case, the complaint comes our way. We do a screening to ensure that it really does look like a violation or it really is a blight issue. Staff review it. Next, usually a visit to the property if it seems safe to do so, and trying to initiate contact with the occupants of the property. If you can do that face to face before you get into letter writing and trying to build that relationship, it's very helpful. Assuming there's no contact from the property owner, and then a second letter gets sent. And if there's still no contact from the property owner or occupant after the 2 letters that we send, the case goes up to the prosecutor. Or if there has been contact with the property owner, and we've made an agreement and set some timelines, and those timelines are not met, then we also send it up to the prosecutor. So let's, again, I've provided you copies of the documents that we use, including, I believe, a letter from the prosecutor, what she does. So let's see if I can make this thing work. Let's see how it's gone. This is one of the cases that we got out of Wheeler Township. There were 2 issues here. One was the building seeming to be in very poor shape. The second, a bus sitting on the property. This case took a while, but there was success. The complainant really wanted to have the building knocked down, but this building could be brought in compliance with the blight statute simply by closing off the doors and windows so that critters and people couldn't crawl through, and making sure that the roof was not going to fall in. Also, the bus, if it is operable, that bus can park there. So it was determined that the bus was operable. There was a great deal of communication with the owner of that bus. There was a door that needed to be outfitted on the bus to make sure that that was safely closed off. The owner did it. So it's not beautiful, but it is no longer actually a technical violation of the blight ordinance. So in terms of blight enforcement, that was a successful case. Again, Wheeler Township. This is one of the first cases out of Fulton Township. You can see on the left, this was a house burn, and then the pile of debris left over from that burn. So the case here and the enforcement action was to make contact with the owner of that property, who did subsequently clean up that pile. A great deal of compliance from that individual. And then there was a need to knock down some of the vegetation that had grown up over time. So that was a case we were able to close out successfully for Fulton Township. North Star, this is another burned house. These things don't always have to be knocked down in order to no longer be a blight issue. It might be something else, but it's not a blight issue. This just required that the doors and windows be secured, again, so that people and critters can't run in and out. There was also some trash and debris left over from the burn. So that was got rid of the debris, took care of the yard, spruced it up a little bit, and then again made sure that home was secured. So this was a case where I believe this is the one. Bill Leonard was out there a number of times. And we had the property owner who was doing a little, but doggone it, then there's just one more board, just get up one more board. And Bill can correct me or not if I've got the wrong case here, but I really think that by virtue of Bill's relationship with this person, got the last board put up and we were able to close this case. And by the way, before we close cases, we get the township supervisor out there, sometimes the complainant, to look at it and say, we're ready to close this case. Are you satisfied? So we get that feedback. Also, there is communication that goes to the township supervisor and the complainant while a case is open approximately each month with an update. So we don't just take it and kind of fall off the map. We maintain that regular communication. The North Star case, we refer to this as the wheelbarrow case because this fellow did load up a couple of loads of the wheelbarrow, and apparently parents live just down the street and around the corner. So loaded up that wheelbarrow and, took them down the street and around the corner to folks' house. And in the end, many opportunities here. Habitat for Humanity did a Rock the Block event, had a dumpster right across the street in an attempt to interest this person in taking advantage of that event. Just hasn't happened. So you never know what's going on for people and what the issues are. I don't think everyone is just, hey, leave me alone, my property. I think that really some folks run into all kinds of things. But this is an example of there just has not been compliance in spite of a number of contacts with this owner. So this is where the townships can avail themselves and where we can help them by sending them up to the prosecutor's office. And kudos to Keith Cushion, who at the very beginning of this did agree to have his office be involved in these things. And we've been working mostly with Jennifer Shepard and Laura Beaver, and we're very grateful to them. So this case, there's been a citation issued. There's a court date. I want to say it's the 1st of February. So, we say what we mean and mean what we say. And if we can't get you to cooperate, sadly, we go this route. So hope just a little more muscle to put into these things. This is a case out of Fulton Township that has been closed. This shows this house was just surrounded by this vegetation. You just couldn't get to it. And the letters went out, and Bill managed to get the folks to secure that property, get the vegetation knocked down, get the trash cleaned up. And there were some truck toppers on that property, and they got them removed. Picture on the right, it doesn't show the whole property, but it does show that the structure was secured with boards. Again, just eliminating that as a hazard and to not invite every critter in the township. This is a third case that we took from Fulton Township. Although there was a limit of 2, we did not get any cases from one of our townships, unfortunately. So as a courtesy, we felt that we had the time, we took this third case. As it turns out, it's not really a blight case. What we have is a fellow who has parked many, many dead cars all around that building, but particularly on that side. And you can see that there's no intent to move those cars because, yes, indeed, that is a tree that is growing just about right out of that car. Cars being fertile ground for the growth of vegetation. If you're having a little trouble with your garden starts, I simply recommend that you get a dead car, put it in your yard, throw some seeds at it, and I think that you'll be very successful. 3 cars have been moved, but this has been, it is probably not a blight case in the end, but we're going at it in other ways, and we're going to continue to facilitate and help. These cars are actually parked out on the right of way. So there are these citations for the cars being parked in the right of way. Again, we were able to interest the fellow in moving 3 of the cars. But, so this is also an example of just utilize everything that you can. So, including the postmaster, who's been very helpful out there in providing information. So wherever you can get information. Wheeler, this is a case that we got from Jerry Rohde quite late. I think we got it in December. Yeah, December 14th or day before. This is a fellow who's had stuff all over the yard. You can see a trailer off to the right. That pole barn in the back has some other things in front of that and around. Unfortunately, that pole barn is already full of all kinds of other things. So what you see there in terms of the trailer and so forth, can't just drive that puppy up into the pole barn. So there are some dates that Bill has given this fellow, the 25th of January, and then he'll be going out the following day to do an inspection. So, but there's been progress. There's been progress. So as Bill says here, it's about 50% clear away. So those are the photographs. I can take any questions. Bill is out there somewhere. Matt, we're done with the pictures. Stop share. There's the arrow. So Bill and I can take any questions you might have. And if none, just looking for your heads to nod. I don't know if you need a motion about offering this service to our townships in year 2.
So $2,000 per township, 2 cases.
That was the rate in year 1. And setting the rate, yes. Then setting the rate was the most difficult thing, because the more townships that participated, the lower the cost per case could be, because we didn't even know until I knew how many townships were going to participate. I didn't even know how much staff we were going to need. You know, because if I had 10 townships, I wasn't going to have someone like Bill Leonard working this in part-time with his soil erosion and building inspection work. So that was the rate issue.
Did we make money?
It is not our intention to make money. We're gathering costs now to determine, but of course it's our intention to break even.
And so is the motion going to be for you to continue as we are now, and you were going to present at the township? It's a week from Wednesday, right? Week from tomorrow?
Yes, breaking that down. My intention is to provide the townships just about what I've given you, maybe a little bit more. And to indicate that I want to begin having discussions about year 2 to determine which townships might be interested. I really would guess that a couple of townships jump on board that didn't last year, kind of wanted to see how things went. So I want to show them how things went. And so I am asking for you folks to approve our offering this service again in year 2 at a rate reasonably calculated to break even, not make money, not lose money. And, year 2 is no different than year 1. And I don't know what that's going to be until I know how many townships want to participate, how much staffing is required.
Would you present it as a maximum of $2,000 being $1,000 per case, and maybe the cost can come down if they?
I don't rule out anything. And arriving at this result was, it was a result of many discussions with the participating townships last year. One problem with saying, hey, we'll do each case for $1,000 a case. If I get 1 case, I need a certain level of staffing. If I get 20 cases, I will have needed a second level of staffing. So, I'd like to be able to do that. You just have to be able to plan. So that's the challenge. So as you have ideas about how to address that challenge, I'd love to hear it.
I was just glad this was on the agenda because at the Arcata Township meeting last Wednesday, it was just about 8 people, maybe 9 people with pitchforks and all about blight, ready to get upset. So
They do have their own blight ordinance, by the way, and they do have their own officer.
yes,
Okay. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure you understood that.
Doug Moffett,
The problem, the same as North Shade has their own officer and stuff like that, but they don't have the money.
yeah.
They'll get Tony Costanza to write a letter, that's $400. You can write a letter and the guy gonna throw it away. And this is what I told all of our guys. And I have some townships that have a lot of this. And 2 or 3 of them waited, and I think they're gonna participate. I think Sumner's gonna be one that's gonna participate and things like that. Basically what happens, it does take it out of their hands because they think they're gonna get started and gonna get a lawyer after them, and then all of a sudden you got 3-4 grand wrapped up and you got nothing happening,
Right.
you know?
The township supervisors really reflected that understanding, that if you get the lawyer involved, because some people are saying, oh my gosh, $2,000 for 2 cases. Well, they really understood that you get a lawyer involved and you're going to spend that on 1 case.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Just for letters,
yeah.
not let alone going to court or lawsuit.
You know, I would have liked every case to have resolved without going to the prosecutor, but in a way, this is something I can show the township folks. See, we said that we'd have a prosecutor rather than you're having to incur attorney fees. And look, indeed, they have taken these cases and helping us to arrive at a result. So
Well, I want to make a motion to, but is the motion just like an open-ended best efforts?
it's to agree to offer the program in year 2 with terms to be negotiated and identified.
So moved.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay.
Just real quick. Community advance there, they had some people that were out of the township and they didn't want the process. It wasn't like they're gonna.
And you're right, Sam, some of these have started to get cleaned up simply because it's out in the townships now, that if you don't clean it up, they're coming after you.
Well, and I had a number of people call me out of that committee just because I do business there. It's not my township, but, and I said, oh, they'll come. I said, but it won't be the township hiring a lawyer, it'll be your county prosecutor.
Yeah.
And then how's it work from there? I said, they'll get a judgment and they'll come and clean it up and it'll be put on your taxes. Oh.
The threat of something. May I ask, excuse me, Bill, you're sitting out there and thank you for your courtesy in being here. Taking yourself off of mute if need be, do you have anything you would add, correct or contradict me on?
No, Tracy, I think you've done an admirable job of covering everything. I guess the only point I would make is this. There are no cases that are actually similar. There is no case that is exactly the same. There is no case where you can pinpoint timing, whether it's a few hours, a few days, or a few weeks. Each and all are different, and that's the only thing I would add.
Thanks, Bill. I was interested in having Bill do this work because he has just the right temperament. Our approach to things is we're not cops, we are resources. And, Bill is just the guy to be doing this. So have your approval. Thank you very much. As the year 2 terms are developed, Bill and I will be back to offer an update. Okay. Thanks very much.
Okay, I believe we're moving up the finance board meeting. So we need a motion to go into that.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Lemmerman. We have a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Bunting. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Over to you, John.
Okay, do we need to call the roll again? Okay. Tonight, we're going to, first I got to call the meeting to order. And tonight, we're going to start off with these millage reviews. And the purpose of this review is to determine if the programs are collecting and using the appropriate amount of tax revenue to provide the intended services to Grassy. Village tax collections have increased significantly since turbine farms have been built in the county. And this review is not a one-night job. Tonight's, we're just starting. And tonight, we're going to be hearing from the Grassy County Sheriffs, the Commission on Aging, and County Parks and Rec. Information provided to the board tonight includes a historical financial trend, including millage review, cash balances, and annual expenditures. It also includes a written portion with significant changes to the services provided to the public. So with that, with no objections, I think we'll go ahead and go to the sheriff's millage review.
Yes, just real quick, I want to give a quick financial introduction and then Sheriff Morris will be able to take it from there. The review sheets that you'll see for the three departments that are presenting tonight, we're gonna take a look at what their financials looked at like in 2013, 2017, and 2021. 2013 is an important date because that represents a year that was 1 year, the first year that we did not collect, or the last year that we did not collect wind turbine revenues here at the county. So we're getting a look at what the millage revenues collected looked like without turbine farms. 2017 is just directly in between 13 and 21, and 2021 is the last year that we have financial data completed for review. So this gives us a trend of what we'll be looking at. The information is the revenue collected, the expenditures, and the cash balances on each of those dates. So given that, I'm going to let the sheriff take it from here.
Okay, good evening. You guys should have in your packet the millage overview. This program started back in 1994. There was a COPS grant that was a federal grant that was eliminated. And in order to save 4 jobs, they proceeded with the sheriff millage at that time. It's pretty self-explanatory. We've now gone up to 5 based on what we had coming in that was approved by the board last year to give me the 5th deputy, which give me equal teams of 4 on each shift, plus a city car. And this helps fund the vehicles, gas, and other expenditures related to those officers. I've been up here before and told you what expenses are, and everybody knows with inflation that everything's going up. Cars, just ordered cars. I ordered one Dodge car, went up almost $6,000 from last year when I bought one. Ford's only went up about $700, but everything I'm buying today is more: gas, vehicle repairs, parts, everything. And then it also goes and supports the new complaint logging system that was approved by the board. You will see I have a surplus. I expect that to be probably next to nothing after we fully implement everything that was approved by the board last year. Take on any questions anybody had?
This, in the notes, that number 3, the sheriff millage carries a cash balance today solely for the purpose of settling the wind turbine depreciation lawsuit. What is like, so that, does that mean this 61,000?
Case we got to pay back.
Right?
Yep. That's the balance of 61.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's set aside, Sheriff. That's in addition, you have a 66,000 cash balance, if I'm reading that right. That part of it.
Chris, can you help me with that? I think that's part of it, isn't it?
The 66,000 is the cash balance that you carry at the end of the last fiscal year. Yes.
Right.
Set aside for any potential paybacks that we might have.
Okay.
Of course, we won't know that till the
Right.
tax settlement. I mean,
Rainy day money almost.
so we don't know. That's a crap. It could be more, and then what we're gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I hear you. So looking at this year with inflation, your cars are going up and everything else. Do you think you're gonna be able to even finish out this year within your budget?
Oh, I think I can finish close to it, yeah. If not, we'll have probably some extra in the general fund that we can cover. Another big thing is ammunition. Our guys have to qualify at the range minimum twice a year. We prefer 3 times. And we ordered ammunition last summer. We just got it in last week.
Can we only let them have 1 bullet?
No Barney Fipes.
And it's expensive. Very expensive. Prices just went out of this world.
Yeah, I hear you.
I saw an ad, somebody advertising a virtual shooting. Is there something you could go to?
Well, that won't work for us. That is a simulator for practical shooting in case situations. It's like looking at a screen and it's a shoot, don't shoot type situation. And we have looked into that, but that still does not cover the state guidelines for actually firing your firearm.
You would need state approval for that.
Yeah. And I don't see that happening because you have to shoot the gun. You have to learn how to deal with malfunctions and all that kind of stuff. So.
Oh, yeah.
So this millage started in 1994.
Correct.
Okay. I totally misunderstood. I thought this millage started when the State Highway Patrol closed down that post.
Oh, no, 1994.
Okay.
We still have 1 deputy that was originally started on this millage. He is retiring in April.
Well, it was nice that we've been able over the years to, up to 5 now,
Yeah.
because in today's world, we need.
And that's part of at Michigan State Police, we are the sole providers of
That's right.
enforcement in this county. And so having this, if we didn't have this, we would not have a night patrol in this county.
And state police has decided that Grassy County is so well served by our officers, we don't need them.
Correct.
So we do all investigating and all that other stuff that
Correct.
they normally would do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good specialty things they help us out with, but really we don't get too much from them.
Mike, in the worst case scenario on the payback, you know what your part will be?
I'm sorry.
Worst case scenario on the payback, you know what your part will be? I mean, we have the worst case scenario, what we're gonna owe as a county. I don't know if that includes your number or not.
I don't know what
We
the
talk about $1 million.
payback would be. Case.
I don't think they've talked about that within the millage group yet, what that would be, because we don't really know ourselves. I mean, we know approximately, but we don't know.
We had a number of like.
I thought
We had a little number of over $1 million, the worst case scenario. If we went to the worst case and they said, we're gonna take.
Yeah, I remember that now. So,
What I remember is we were setting aside 1.6 million in the budget for that last year as a surplus.
66,000, is that part of our money? Is that Mike's money?
Go ahead, Chris, if you know.
The surplus that's in the millage,
Right.
the millage fund here, that has to stay in the millage fund.
No, what I'm saying is that we had a worst case scenario for the county that we would be probably 1.3, 1.4, I thought, if they took the worst case scenario of what we had to pay back.
I do not believe that I've been a part of those conversations. I'm not sure that they've happened outside of.
Yeah, we've had meetings where they've talked about 1.3, 1.4 would be our obligation.
but
I apologize. I'm not certain that I was a
Yeah,
part of
I'm
that.
not aware of it either. So,
All right.
yeah.
This meeting. That's,
I think this number is not much money here. I mean.
Yeah. I think from what I understand, you may already know
Okay, share.
what that figure is, but I don't think it's been split up among departments.
Yeah. So when we talk about the whole number, I think that number is probably in there for every department.
Probably. I would assume so, yes. Yep.
does anybody else have any other questions? Chris, is there anything of note that you'd like to point out that we should be aware of here?
Well, the only thing that I would like to mention is that, the sheriff provides these services and we've committed to provide these services. So anytime that we would lower any payments coming out of a special revenue fund, like we would be picking up those expenditures in the general fund. So if you were to look at this millage and consider a rollback on this, it wouldn't be lowering services. Those services would be picked up in the general fund that pays for the sheriff's office.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, next up, we've got Commission on Aging.
All right, next on the agenda, we Commission on Aging. So I've handed out and you'll see on the screen the information that we've put together in the packet, and I'll let Jennifer Cook take it from there.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address the questions that you asked. As you know, the millage stat sheet is in front of you. And I just wanted to say that Commission on Aging provides services to individuals 60 years and older with the goal of having said individuals age in place as long as possible. And the services Commission on Aging provides through millage funds, our case coordination and support, Medicare and Medicaid assistance, home delivered meals, personal care, respite care, homemaking, food with friends, home chore, and home repair. And the services that we've added in recent years are a modular ramp program, which allows us to install aluminum ramps at the homes of skiers in half the labor time that it takes for wooden ramps. We'll still be doing wooden ramps, but also reusing the materials for the aluminum ramps for the next person in need. And we would like to fund this with some extra millage dollars down the road. Homemaking service, it is now, it went from not a service at all to our #1 service behind home delivered meals. And we have been over serving in the program, which means our funding agency gives us a set amount of money. But we then take millage dollars to provide that service to those that are requesting it. But there is a waiting list at this time because we're struggling tremendously to identify home health aides who will go in and provide the homemaking service or personal care or respite care at this time, as the rest of the country is struggling with that as well. And we've experienced cost increases, as the sheriff mentioned, but ours are particularly with the construction materials for those ramps. And then also the food for the home delivered meal program. Those costs are increasing with no real end in sight. And we also are in need of kitchen equipment upgrades, as well as purchasing food delivery vehicles for our meal program. As currently volunteers and staff are using their own vehicles, getting paid mileage, but wear and tear and all of that. And as for the cash balance, we did receive COVID federal grants that are attributing to that millage cash balance increase, as well as vacancies in staff due to COVID, and throughout we've really struggled to fill certain positions for whatever reason. And then we also went 4 months with a complete shutdown of all services except for home delivered meals. That was the only service we were providing at the time. So all of those things have inflated our cash balance as well. So the short-term answer to your question about could we roll back the millage is yes, but I'd like to really study it a little bit more, determine what the amount would be, and get together with you or Chris to really look into what that amount could be and what we can safely do. Which I know I think as a team, we could work it out and figure something. But I don't know if Chris has anything to add to that, or if you have any questions for me.
It's my understanding that you're highly regulated in how you can spend your funds.
Correct.
Like the upgrades that you need to your own facilities cannot come out of these funds. They have to come out of donations.
Donations, yes.
But when we look at these balances, donations, like when we look at your cash balance, your donated portion of your budget is included in these cash balances, correct?
Correct.
Do you have?
For this particular presentation, the donations are not included.
Yeah, they're not, just
Yeah.
windmill money.
Just millage.
Millage.
Or millage.
Millage money.
But if you look, across the total revenue, it's up this year, but I think that's explained by COVID money and other things that got put in there. The problem is they have to be so careful of how they do things. The cash balance is built up because of the COVID restrictions.
Correct.
They can't, we're struggling at Commission on Aging, trying to find a person that will go in and help someone. I mean, they're way behind on home chores, way behind. And a lot of this stuff will be taken care of in the future, but with COVID being the way it is, and older generation, trying to take care of them, and they are the most cautious, and rightly so. So it's been, and I commend Jim and her staff for doing as much as they can, because the restrictions are so tight on what they can actually do. And they're struggling for drivers for Meals on Wheels. They're about every area you got, they're struggling for people to help. And they're offering pay, and they can't even do that because people don't want to put themselves in that position. So I understand where you're coming from.
How many vacancies do you have right now?
Have 4. And then home health aides, we have 9 people right now. We used to have 24 back when,
Wow.
yeah. So it's really, it's a strange time. Never seen it before.
Well, everybody's having difficulty hiring. I was just wondering, do you have a cash balance number from 9/30 and 19, the end of the year in 19?
9:30 and 19. It's not with me, but I do believe, Chris, maybe you can help me. It was around 600.
It'll take me just a second to get it.
Okay.
Okay, as long as you're looking, could you give me 9/30 of 20 also?
No, that was around 600, but he can confirm.
Let me just ask you a question about your program. In my business, we do a lot with it, but I really don't know how you're engaged. How are you engaged to an old guy like me? Would I call you and say I need help, or do you somehow find me, or how do you do that?
A lot of it is word of mouth. We also have a newspaper that we post, but word of mouth, neighbors concerned about other neighbors, family calling and saying.
We have a lot of people, we refer to call you and things like that too, but I just didn't know if you had think when you get 60 or whatever, you got an ARP card or whatever.
We don't have that yet. We have talked about that over the years as far as almost like a welcome wagon type thing. New people moving into the area. At this point in time, we do not have anything like that. But it's a great idea, and we can look into that.
Commissioner Murphy, are you able to see the spreadsheet on the screen? I have cash balances at the end of 2019 and the end of 2020 here.
All right. Could you just send that to us?
That's right.
Okay. So you got
At 500,000 and then 615,000 respectively. You said you would like that via.
yeah, if you could, please.
And the other thing with all of these groups are gonna have, we've got, I think we got like 130 windmills we just put on that started up come this year, I believe, in New Haven and then I think these guys now are gonna put in about 110, kind of fill the rest. 72 is gonna fill the rest of the county in.
Starting out, yeah.
Yeah, then that'll finish up. So we're gonna be, we're gonna probably put another 180 windmills in the program, which, because the ones that we got up in
60 some were from 4 and then another potential for 72. So yeah, we've got, I think it's 417, I think it's like total count.
Yeah, but some of those, they haven't really come online as far as tax revenue yet.
So
The 2 townships out there.
right, the township, the North Shade, New Havens, they'll see their first payments occurring now. We'll track those in April. If this next project were to happen, question be, will they get it done 12/31, 22, or will it skip it to 23?
Oh,
So we're at least 2 more years of ramp up before we start.
I really think this is good to look at, but I really think it's hard to make any type of thoughts or determination until you find out how this lawsuit's gonna settle.
Right, yeah.
Okay, here's the number, here's what you owe, or we're all even. You know, or we're gonna pay you some more. You know, that's kind of where we're all caught. And we've been telling townships that. I mean, I've been telling townships, if I lived here, you got this windmill money coming, I'd put 10, 15 points away in a bank. You know, just to see what's gonna happen to this thing.
Hold on.
2, 3 years.
Onto some of it, that's for sure, because.
You know, because I think there's gonna be a lot of people, if we end up owing, you have little fire departments, schools, you have people who are gonna be scrambling for money, and those budgets run within thousands of dollars, and if you owe 200,000, you're hooked. Of course, we're gonna have months before we would potentially make this decision, so we're just. Well, whenever they make the process.
It's coming. I mean, that decision is gonna come and then we have to deal with it. And so
I think it's really hard to, when you look at, this is a little bit more money here, but I don't know what it takes to operate and things like that. But when you look at Mike got $60,000, that's 2 cars and maybe a car and a half.
yeah.
So that's not like a lot of money.
No.
If he's buying a nice car, they
Well,
don't,
he doesn't have a lot of cash.
yeah, you don't have a lot of cash.
Not sitting on a lot of cash.
Yeah.
I kind of look at it, this is, we're just beginning to get the numbers in this process.
Oh, certainly.
So we got a lot to.
We got a lot. We
to go.
got so many, we got more questions. We'll have answers to.
Well, that, and we'll have hopefully more funds coming. We'll get everybody up in line here in the next year and a half.
It's a good process because now everybody can become aware of what's going on. I mean, we've never had taxing entities come in and talk to us before. We understand where their money's going, and that's a good thing. I mean, this is all a good thing to know these things.
And I think too that as we're looking at this ramp up over the next 2 years, it's possible that millages could be cut, but the net dollars coming in could still grow, could still grow.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought is that, to me, I got to think that if we take these next 2 years as, well, this is status quo, this is the way it is today, and it's going to be that way tomorrow too, that some of these departments could add staff, you know, like beef up to meet the demand and stuff. And then after we get over that peak and we start to come down the other side, if there's any economic stress at all at that point, we're going to have to be laying off people that we just hired. So it's just, I just think that we got to be thinking about all those perspectives that perhaps over the next 2 years, some of these departments are going to see a really nice jump in their cash because of the increased revenues that the whole county is going to be getting. And just like, how do we best manage that?
Right. I think for what is worth thought on it is that it's like these folks right here. They've had a couple of years where they couldn't get out and intermingle with these people. Right? So they haven't spent a lot of cash. When you look at the park, it's kind of like that too. But there's probably things that they would like to do in the last 2 years that if they could get staffing around or get people around wherever they were that they were managed before, they wouldn't ramp up and put more staff on and stuff. They would just say we could do more for our people. We could do more in the time for our people. But when the money runs out, we still have the same staff that we've maintained. And now as the money comes away from the windmills coming back on the other side of that, you know, then you'll look at it and say, you know, we had 4 or 5 good years or 6 good years of being able to do a lot. But I think you want to go into that thinking to get a lot of staff. And then when we turn around the corner, you know, it's kind of like Mike. I would hate to say to folks, let's skip the 4 mills or 5 mills that we get for police and come back next year because we have a little bit extra cash.
And they say, I just think it's hard to get millages right now. It would be hard again in a year from now, you know? I think they see police out in the middle of the night. They know that 4 or 5 mills, that's what they're doing. I mean, it's pretty much designated to have those guys out running around and doing their job. And I just have a real concern about trying to take some of that away and then trying to get some back when, you know, I guess I would rather have these folks say, you know, something, we missed 30 people that really need some help, and let's go and help those 30 people and use some of that cash up. Or it's like the parks. I'd rather have them say, you know, we should do, I was just out running around at the parks here a couple of months ago, and, you know, they could use some stuff. And if we're gonna use the parks in the whole county and distribute some of this money, I think that's a good thing, you know, and while we have it, we could use it and not ramp up and hire people, because in saying 2 years from now, we don't have no place for you.
Okay.
Because we're gonna turn that corner someday.
Well, I think all of our people that are receiving millages, COA, sheriff, parks, their staffing, they've always kept that pretty tight.
Yeah.
I don't think they're.
No, I don't think that's going on now. What's happened is how they've seemed to accumulate some money is that they can't get out and do anything for anybody, right? You know, I mean, you can't come to your house or can't come to my house and do whatever I need, I guess. I'm not sure what you do, but bring me food or something, but you know, you just.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to do stuff like maybe have a welcome thing or something, you know, that'd be a great thing, I would think, you know, you get 65 or 60 or whatever it is, I don't know. But I'm not saying I need that, but.
Are you hurrying?
No, I'm there, but.
Does anybody have any more questions for Jen? Chris, any fine point here that you're noticing that we should be aware of?
No, I think it's going pretty good, asking good questions. One thing that Commissioner Smith said, though, I just want to make sure that it's clear. He talked about lowering millages and then being hard to get them back. The process that the county would use would be every year when they vote in September to approve the millage rates that Keegan Bengal from Equalization brings to you. You would vote to lower them a tick or two and then submit that to the state. And then the next year when he does that again, they're automatically restored to what the state allows after the state rollbacks. So as far as getting back to where they were, it's just a 1 year rollback that you would vote on for each individual millage or collectively.
But I think when I guess I really don't know this, but I'm sure it's probably on there. I just paid a bottom number on my tax bill, but hopefully you guys got it right. I'm sure you do. No, so I think something in there that says, you know, the valuation of my home and then 5 mils for police for the night shift or whatever that extra police is based on my millage, you know, it's 5 mils. So would it come on my tax statement next year that we're only going to do 4 mils, you know? Yeah. So now I look at my tax statement and say, well, it's 4 mils last year. They reduced it. Now they've kicked it back. And now we've got to come back. Maybe that's a year that we got to come back and ask for 5 mils. And you say, well, I'm a guy that don't look at it, but maybe you look at it and say, well, it was 4 mils last year. Now you want 5. I just think there's just I don't want to lose anything we have. And I think people appreciate everything the county does for them. I don't hear a lot of bad about these departments. I mean, we have nice departments.
Yeah, I think what Chris is saying, that it would sound like the resolution would be for a year.
Right. But if you said that, if we were there today and we said, we're going to tick the sheriff's department back 1 year. So on my taxes next year, would I get a slip that said 4 mils for the sheriff's department for the road patrol?
Yeah. If that's that report.
And if that happens to be the year that the election comes every 2-3 years? Every 6 years. So now we're in year 6. And I look at my tax bill and I go, well, they charged me 4, now they want 5. And maybe I don't look at the one before.
Well, those things we'd have to be aware of for sure.
You know, I like this ARP money. I think you got to do everything the county needs to get done with it. I think with your money, what you need to get done with it. And then Because you've missed a couple of years of spending money. I mean, this has really been an odd thing for you.
It's been tough on a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so.
Other part departments are suffering because they didn't get the money and they still have to do the job.
Yeah,
So we got to take a comprehensive look in my opinion.
yeah, like you say, there's not going to be settled tonight, but I think it's good to look at it.
Right.
I have one more question, John, and I think I asked Chris this and he told me, but I forgot already.
You're getting old.
On this sheet, it says
He's the youngest one here.
it's 2022. What, does that mean that,
Or we're voting again this year. It's up for renewal this,
okay, so we're only voting on the renewal of the existing.
correct,
Existing knowledge, yeah.
And do you know when will that be in the spring?
August.
In August?
We're up to.
Approve those, I believe in March.
Library.
I believe. For all this.
Yeah, we have to approve those in March.
Okay.
They stagger the millages.
Unless you've got anything else, I think that's all the questions we had.
I don't. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
You too. All right, next up is Parks and Rec. I think I saw you online, Pete.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, Pete Little here. I also have Doug Yost. He's the chair of the Parks and Recreation Commission. He's here with me as well.
All right, very good. You guys want to just go ahead and take it away?
Okay, sure can. So the Parks millage was initially passed in 2004. It was an 8-year mill. It was renewed in 12, and then it was just renewed again in 2020. So we are recently renewed. So as far as the questions asked, is service expanded? We have expanded our parks quite a bit. We are fortunate that folks can actually see what we've done. If you go out to Reed or Upshur County Park, you can see all the amenities that we've added over the last 7 to 10 years, from ball field upgrades to a new office for the park and a maintenance building and the basketball courts and on and on. There's been quite a bit of capital development that's been done over the last many years. Typically, we'll spend anywhere from $100,000 to up to $300,000 on capital development in the county parks. Similarly to other departments, the last couple of years have been kind of different for us. We had big goals to spend money and had a hard time finding contractors to do projects. And then, if we did have bids on projects, sometimes they were double what our estimates were. So we chose not to move forward with those. We wanted to spend our money wisely. So we definitely encountered that. Moving down from services expanded, we have capital improvement projects that this comes out of our 5-year recreation plan. So every 5 years we renew our rec plan, and part of this process is to meet with the public, the users of our parks, and ask them through surveys, what type of improvements would they like to see, what type of program should we offer. So you can see there's a list of some of the projects that we aim to accomplish over the next 5 years. We are real proud of the fact that we generally complete our 5-year plans. The last 2, we feel comfortable to say we completed 80% of the projects that we set out to accomplish. So, and as far as spending, some years we might have to let our funds build up. For example, our goal this year is to do a large paving project. We'd like to pave the parking lots and back roadways at Reed Park. We did a similar project out to Upshur a few years ago. And we anticipate that this is going to be, a $250,000 project. So we needed to let those capital project funds build up over the years so that we have enough money to pay for those projects. So you will, if you look at that over the years, you will see some fluctuation in the amount of funds that we are holding on to. But yeah, we definitely do have plans to spend those projects or spend those dollars. And then lastly, and I think this is quite relevant, and one of the main points we want to make is that the Parks and Recreation Commission acknowledged and recognized that we were bringing in additional funds due to the wind turbines, and that, you know, perhaps we should do something with that. We've had requests over the years from townships about, you know, can they use these funds within their townships, and our millage language didn't allow us to do that. So the Parks and Recreation Commission did a bunch of research. We looked around at other counties to see how they handle this, and we came up with this proposal that you see here. This is the millage that was just passed in 2020, and we have a program where we can fund recreation projects in townships, in cities and villages within Gratiot County. So they can apply to us, and we will distribute some funds back to them for recreational projects. So we do have a system in place to help fund those types of projects. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer or elaborate on any of these points.
So the paving project you mentioned, that was scheduled for this year or next year, or when were you?
Yeah, that is scheduled. That we are right now. We are getting. We have hired an engineer firm to draw up the plans. We're working on the bid documents to put that out to bid. So we will put that out to bid here over the next month, and then we will bring those bids to you guys to approve. So yeah, that's in the works. And the numbers were based on, we did a similar project out at Hupshire. I think it was in 2019. It was about a $200,000 project at that time. Yeah, so we're anticipating it's going to be more than that. So
Definitely, all that's going way up.
Yeah.
I guess I don't have any questions other than I think it was in the middle of the summer. We had some conversations about the prices of some studies that were put in. And I think Doug told us back in 2008 and what they were in 2014, and it was an explosive price rise.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys remember the details of that?
Yeah, John, I think you're referring to the vault toilets. We were looking to construct some new vault toilets. We wanted to add a vault toilet to the east end at Reed Park. We wanted to put one at the Hupshire campground. Yeah, we anticipated that those might come in around $20,000 maybe to build each, and it came back more than double that. I think it was $80,000 was the quotes that we got. So we chose not to do that. We found another route. We had two vault toilets that weren't utilized in their current location. So we took it upon ourselves to have new septic tanks set in the new locations and actually move those old buildings to the new sites. So we ended up maybe spending $20,000 altogether to get bathroom facilities in those sites that we wanted to provide those for. So we had to get creative.
You guys are good at that. Does anybody else have any questions for Parks and Rec?
Yeah, just a silly question, Pete.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all these great things and basically your action item, capital improvement. So you got your goals there, but I would be kind of scratching my head. Well, how much is all this going to cost?
Right.
You don't have any numbers, ballpark or otherwise, down there. It's like, okay. I mean, it looks to me like a lot of dollars you got on this list.
Yeah, definitely. We have plans to spend all our money, that's for sure. And if we need to find additional funds through grants, we'll do that to get those projects done. But those are the projects that the citizens said they wanted to see done, and we're going to do our best to get them done.
Chris, do you have any other anything you want to throw in on this?
No, I don't have anything to add or any direction for this. No, thank you.
All righty.
Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, thank you fellas for showing up. I think that's all we needed tonight.
Thanks, guys.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, well, that concludes the village review for tonight.
Apparently,
Chris, I'll turn it over to you to go into the county numbers.
Okay. I will go ahead then and start with the finance director's report.
They've still got a mic on there.
Delete somebody
It's
or
little,
somebody.
yeah.
Yeah. Shoot them.
Speak up and tell them. They got a mic on.
Oh,
Okay, so we still have audit still continuing. The auditors were here for 2 weeks. They are taking this week and going to another job and allowing us to fulfill the rest of their requests while they're gone this week, and they'll be back next week. Just a quick snapshot of where the audit module sits at 76% fulfilled. I added in the report, the total amount of drain prepayments thus far this fiscal year. We're sitting at $151,000. Just want to keep that in front of you every month so that you can see, so that we can track where we're at. Because these requests will continue to come in, I'm sure. Especially once we get towards digging season when the ground thaws out. We received, since our last meeting, we've received our MERS Oppab Actuary report. The Oppab report, just to remind you, is the other post-employment benefits. We have a benefit trust fund that we have with MERS. The net position of the trust at September 30th, 2021, which is when they use this for the measurement date for our financial statements, we had just over $2 million in it, $2,043,000. They calculated our liability at just over $2.5 million. So when we get our financial statements, we'll have just under $620,000 liability in it. Compared to where this was at last year, our liability was at $2.7 million. And that's because of the calculation that the actuaries use based on where our investments set. And in prior years, we were in a very conservative investments in cash and in bonds. In this most recent fiscal year, we moved those investments into the MERS, their standard investment, the same fund that we have our pension fund invested in. I also pulled a snapshot from the MERS website to show you where the Oppab Trust Fund stands as of, this was January 12th last week when I put this together, sitting at just under $2.15 million, just so that you can see the growth over the last couple months being in this new fund that it was transferred over to.
Chris, quick question on that. So that actuary report from 9/30, did that also include the 300,000 that we still had in cash at the
No,
time?
it does not. It does not take that into effect because MERS does not have that money.
yeah, we have it.
So the 619,000 liability, if we counted that as well, is really only a 319,000 liability?
Because we're holding it in cash, it wouldn't project out as high, but yes. In easiest terms, yes.
Okay. That was what my simple logic came up with.
So are we moving it into their system or it's in the middle going, we're
We're
holding any cash?
we're sort of in process.
Okay.
And we're also using it for cash expenditures rather than cashing out invested.
Correct. I did run the calculations of how much we are spending versus how much we had planned on putting away on a monthly basis. And they're pretty close to the same. Item 4, ARP funds and project list update. This is just continue to update this for your information. Actually, what you're going to see here is if you were to compare it to last month's, our earmarked funds actually went down. And the reason that that happened is because I replaced the estimate for the email replacement with what the actual was. And because the actual was so much lower than what the estimate that we originally put in there, overall, the amount spent earmarked by the board decreased from last year. So good job to Matt and the team and coming up with a good solid replacement bid. As far as the money for the water lines to the different cities, since my last report, the city of Ithaca has made its first grant funds draw. Also, the city of Elma is in process of making their first draw. So the cities are putting these funds to work quickly. I did attach the Oppab actuary report for your review. I don't intend on going over it in detail unless you have any questions. I know that is the next action point at C.2. And if I don't, and I can always come back to it, but I'm going to go ahead and skip now to C-3, the cash balances for the county.
Hey, Chris, before we go there.
Yes, sir.
When is we're getting another check from the feds on
Correct.
that. Do you know when that is approximately? Guessing, I believe.
I want to say it's in March or April. I will look that up and I will add that to this report so you guys know when exactly to spend it. They didn't give us a hard date, but they said it had to be by law, it had to be within 1 year of the date that we got the first payment. Perhaps by the end of this, while our treasurer is presenting, I can look that up.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Last week, just a sidebar question here. Last week, they came out with the final guidelines for the American Recovery Plan money. Have you had a chance to review that?
I did. I was able to read through that quickly. And my first interpretation of it is they didn't necessarily add new types of projects, like completely new projects that we weren't expecting or weren't listed in the first one. And what they did was they just did a lot better job of describing the types of projects and expenditures that we can have that they've already listed. And I talked to Commissioner Lumberman a little bit about this morning. And just a simple analogy that I gave to him is that in the interim, they said that we could, they said we could ride a bus. But now they said we can ride a bus anywhere in Ithaca, Elma, or St. Louis. They made it easier to understand exactly what we can spend the money on. And I do plan on reviewing it again in the next 2 weeks in much more detail and making sure that I get into a couple of training sessions that are put on by the Department of Treasury at the federal level.
Okay.
Chris, back to our conversation this morning, if I understood you right, you and Tracy are going to attend the township meeting, the all township meeting that's at Pine River Township next Wednesday night, a week from tomorrow. Is that correct?
We are planning on attending it, the exact date. I have to look on my calendar real quick.
John, I think it's Thursday.
No, it's Wednesday.
Better change it.
It's 26.
26th.
26th.
No, it's Thursday, 27th.
27th?
Oh, good.
Okay, Thursday, the 27th.
Let's hit it, and that's gonna, come on, township meeting.
Worked out. I had one on the 26th. Good.
So it's-
Because I think that if you guys can touch on that at that meeting, it would be really good.
Absolutely. And that is,
That's what they plan on doing.
my priority is to have a better understanding of the final rule.
Just to, so it's Thursday, the 27th at 6
Right.
o'clock?
Yep, yep.
Hey, Chris, I'm looking at the projects here for ARP funds. Where's that Hope House in here? Am I missing it?
It's a good eye.
It's a couple $100,000.
Yeah, yeah.
Good job, Sam.
No, I think I'm missing it.
Say the radios, if you got all your radios, Sheriff?
Yep, now we had to order mics and,
Oh, for your,
for them, so
for your,
we got a couple in service that they're testing with, different mics, so we got the
Okay.
mics on order now.
okay. That shouldn't take,
Those should be in soon. I got them all, distributed out, they're all sitting in my office with names on them and
okay,
they're all ready to roll.
You got all that programming or whatever they had to do.
that's all done. Yeah, they're just waiting for mics now.
Yep, the external microphones.
Good. Yeah, you gotta have that on your body. Yeah, good. Good. I don't see it, you're right. Look at that.
Chris, did we get our money back from those guys that we sold those radios to? We got a
Yes, we
check.
did. Yep, the
Okay.
refunds did come in.
I'm not gonna ask you again.
Take that off.
Take that off my list.
Oh, good. Funny.
Well, we can't get anything by Sam. There you go.
Couple bucks maybe, but.
Not that much. Forget what it was, a substantial amount. Okay, where we at?
All right. Well, I can move on then to the cash balances at the county level. Everything seems to be on par as far as historical trends. December is not a year that we collect a significant amount of money in the general fund. We usually see the cash balances dip somewhere between $400,000 and $600,000. Delinquent tax fund continues to collect delinquent taxes. Outside of that, I don't have anything out of the ordinary to report. Moving on to the check register, we'll give the board a moment to review the check register and you can ask me any questions. Get my accounts payable pulled up just in case.
Any questions on the check register?
I have one, the Rainbow Inn, what's that?
That is a restitution payment.
Okay,
Bar in Barrington.
okay. I knew I'd heard of it before, but I couldn't think of where.
All right, last item for board review from myself is the Gratiot County Revenue and Expenditure Report. I'll give you a moment to ask questions about this. Typically, I would be giving a more in-depth review of the budget to actual after, at this meeting. But I'm gonna have to put it off for a couple weeks just because I've been spending all of my time working with the auditors and also trying to put together a presentation for these millage department reviews. So while I do have budget to actual here, I would typically give you a more in-depth review, and I apologize for that, but I will get it to you.
Anything on here jump out to you, Chris? All looks fairly good.
No, not at this moment. I'd say it's been a fairly quiet and steady first quarter, which in the world of finance, that is exactly what you would like. All right, Commissioner Lemmerman, whenever you would like to pass the mic, just let me know.
I think we're ready unless there's any other questions. All right, Terry, you're up.
Not hearing you. Turn your mic on.
There she goes.
Sorry about that. Hello, everyone. I have once again submitted my December investment distribution report and my December transfers at the bank. The investments, we went up a little bit. We had some commercial paper that had matured or termed out. So there was a little bit of interest there. So another CD was purchased, the UBS bank CD. So we gained a little bit there, as you can see on the total. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of change. The receipt distribution report, does anybody have any questions on that? No. Bank transfers? Pretty quiet out there.
Do you have any questions, Terry? Or we don't.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you. I guess Matt, we check to see if there's any public comments.
Nobody's connected in right now.
I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Adjourn.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Back to the meeting.
Okay. Back to Commissioner Committee reports. John, you want to start us off?
Gratiot Township meeting. They finally received their ARP funds. Like I was telling you before, there on the submit page, there is a button down in the far right-hand corner, submit. They did not hit the first two times. But it showed submission received. When they finally got their money. And I also believe that the rules of the game of the ARP funds have changed substantially. So I'm really looking forward to this meeting a week from Thursday to talk about that a little more. The airport committee, we had a real quick meeting yesterday. We received $15,000 additional that was received because of another COVID type situation. And that was all that was on the meeting for that. I would say that I would be curious for the rest of you covering rural townships, I feel that the message I'm getting from Arcata is that they are strongly in favor of broadband as a ARP funding, that high-speed internet is something that they're really interested in. And I'm just curious, I don't think I'm getting that feeling from Elma at all, but if you guys are polling your townships, I'm just wondering if you're getting the same kind of feeling. That's all I have.
All righty, George.
Since we had a incredibly short meeting the last time, I went to the Ithaca City Council meeting, and first time in a long time, because we usually run longer meetings, so I got to go to that one for a while. Everything's doing well there. I think tonight on their agenda, they're talking to the Spicer Engineering about their plan for the lead pipes. They've got their engineering coming up for that, so they'll be talking about that tonight. Mental health had their meeting. These new, or go back to what I call the 19th century, the rules that the state of Michigan put out for meetings is starting to hamper a little bit. Our meeting over there, we had to wait about 20 minutes to find another body because we didn't have enough people in the room. So I can see this down the road could be a problem. And so the people that were calling in couldn't participate. And that's too bad. I think that whole situation is bad, but nothing we can do about it right now except call the congressman. Other than that, we have a health department meeting coming up next week. That's about all I got.
And we're short staffed, but I'm still trying to get off to be able to go to that health board meeting next week. Hopefully I can. Yeah, I really don't have anything. Jan?
I went to Bethany Township meeting, and also I called Breckenridge yesterday to let them know about the meeting tonight. And I was told that Jeff Ostrander has been in the hospital with COVID-19 and was not doing real well, but his wife said that he is home now, but still on oxygen. And also Bridget, who Jeff Ostrander is
She's the manager. Yep, she's the office.
And she's the office, Bridget is the office manager, but she's also home. Probably I don't know if she has it or not, but just to be on the safe side. So keep them in your prayers.
I haven't been to any meetings. I've talked to a couple of townships here in the past few weeks. Basically, I had a couple of townships call me about the ARP funds. We said we were going to kind of put a little hold on them. I said, really, you just keep moving forward and get something prepared. I said, and when you have it all put together, we'll take a look at it. I mean, we're not going to have a date. We're going to turn this back on. I just said, we're just kind of pausing here a little bit and catching our breath. But so these guys are still working on some stuff. And
Right.
that's about it.
Thank you, Sam. We already did the blight program report. I see we have a vacancy on the Parks and Rec Board. Angie, you taking care of that?
Hancock resigned from the board. His term actually, I believe, came up and he didn't want to reapply. That was advertised back in December. So we finally did receive an application from Jared, and I believe he is the branch manager of Isabella Bank here in Ithaca.
Also on.
Move to appoint him.
Motion by Commissioner Smith, support by Commissioner Bailey. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion passed. And unfinished business.
And I do need a motion to approve the financial report and pay the.
Oh, okay, yeah, we need a motion coming out of John's meeting to approve the
expenses for December.
Approve the report. Motion by Commissioner Bailey, support by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion passed. Thank you. Angie. We have, let's see, any unfinished business then?
I don't know if this would be unfinished business or if it would be public comment. I just wanted to let you know that I did receive an email this morning from our attorney in regards to the apportionment commission. The Court of Appeals has denied the petitioner his request for relief. So they are letting us move forward with the map that we approved. So you do have that email as far as.
Yeah, I remember reading that today.
All righty, thank you, Angie. Any public comment? Matt, you see anybody online?
Nope, nobody else is connected in right now.
Okay.
Just real quick, if I could, Commissioner Murphy.
Go ahead.
The date that we received the first round of the ARP funds was May 20th.
I was
So we are
thinking May.
expected,
Okay.
we're expected to receive the second round at that date or before.
Thank you. All righty, anybody else here?
I just have a
Comment?
quick,
Oh, John, yeah.
quick question for Tracy, if you're still on, Tracy.
Your name.
There's things there, so I'm sure she is.
Oh,
Crazy.
there it is.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I heard that there was a day last week where United Airlines had over half of their employees call in sick. And was some talk over the weekend that this Omicron stuff is far more transmissible than what Delta was. And what I'm wondering is, do we need to have contingency plans in place for a
I'm sorry.
day?
I'm sorry,
Do we need to have some kind of a contingency plan? If, like, what happens if half of the county employees call in sick?
We do tend to respond to things as things are known. The part A in my answer is emphasizing prevention and keeping people well. And I kept you notified of what I have been trying to do and measures that have been implemented again to try to keep people well. Part B of my answer is we made huge strides at the very beginning of this when we evaluated department by department what was work that was urgent, needed to be done, could not be delayed, and departments should still have those notes and those plans. Second, we got ourselves in a very short period of time, we really built an ability to work remotely. And that meant getting some equipment, getting people familiar with how to use it remotely and so forth. I can tell you that I know one person in particular who was in quarantine and actually then became ill for a period of a couple of weeks. And I didn't know he was gone because I was in such regular contact with him because he was working from home. So beyond that, if we lost 50% of our folks, each department would once again have to do an evaluation of what work has to be done now and what can wait. Then part C of this answer, and I'm making up parts as I go, but part C of this answer is, as it was at the very beginning, that we just communicate. Information on our website, notices on our doors, letting folks know about what our situation is and any adjustments in work schedules or operations that have become necessary.
I figured you thought about it. I just wondered.
Just as I was eating my breakfast cereal one day, I thought, yeah. Thank you, John, for the question. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay, any other comments?
I move we adjourn.
Without objection, we're adjourned.